Wow. So this is what it's like to exist. Awesome. Wow. Look at all this stuff. I mean, oh man, this is such a cool place. Ah, yeah. Look at that. Uh, uh um, hmm. Let's check our email. Okay, what do we got here? Bigger boobs from pharmaceuticals. Do they have any before and after pictures? They do. Okay, yes. And as a keeper, life is good. Okay. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, we've got something from the Reptiloid Hacker Army Commander. Dear Codename D, Armored Skeptic has been summoned on an urgent mission to Acapulco. We were wondering if you might be able to cover for him for a few days. Sincerely, Reptiloid Hacker Army Commander. P.S. All hail the Reptiloid Queen. Let's see. Okay. Dear Reptiloid Hacker Army Commander, I would normally like to help out, but I have just been summoned into existence and would like to experience the world with childlike wonder before I am condemned to menial labor. Sincerely, Codename D. Okay. Oh, he sure didn't take long to get back to me. Okay, let's see. It says, Dear Codename D, was just being polite. This is actually an order. You will do this or die. Sincerely, Reptiloid Hacker Army Commander. P.S. All hail the Reptiloid Queen. Okay, looks like I get to help out Armored Skeptic for a while. Well, geez, how hard could it possibly be?
My point with point one was that atheists tend to stand as if they're a bastion of science and that science is somehow backing them up. And actually, Armored Skeptic, you actually do exactly what I said. Matter of fact, not even 5 minutes later in this video, you actually prove my point that the first thing I said was correct. Let me show you.
Oh, life sucks.
Matter of fact, not even 5 minutes later in this video, you actually prove my point that the first thing I said was correct. Let me show you.
Again, you've touched on a philosophical issue. Nobody derives their philosophical outlook on life on scientific findings. All science does is tells us how the universe works.
All science does is tell us how the universe works. Now you notice kind of how he talked there, it's kind of subtle. But if you notice, he's sort of coming as if he's from science. And that's kind of how he talks throughout the video in various places, as if science is behind him and he is sort of like
Look out,
using
science is behind
wrong.
you! Wait, you mean to tell me that you're the one defending science here? And that Armored Skeptic is actually the whiny, mumbling, incoherent religious nutball? Please, I wasn't born yesterday. I was born 3 minutes ago. So the new guy has to defend religion against science. Gee, way to toss the new guy into the deep end.
One could argue maybe that they reached that point through scientific reasoning, but atheism on its own is in no way scientific. As far as science is concerned, atheism is irrelevant.
The problem I have with what he said there is you can't actually arrive at atheism with science because science doesn't lead one to atheism.
Of course science doesn't lead you to atheism. Atheism is the default position. I don't believe in anything until you can show me evidence that something is true.
Now, it may not lead you to believe in God either, but it's not going to lead you to not believe in God because you have to have all the data in front of you to make a decision.
Science does not lead me to not believe in a non-existent God because there is not enough insufficient evidence to not suggest to me to not believe in a God that is not real. QED.
You can't analyze 6 to 7 dimensions which are not within standard spatial dimensions and are outside of the realm of time.
So you have 6 or 7 dimensions that are without space and without time that we cannot analyze. Gotcha.
With that being said, you can't know whether or not God is in those dimensions.
Oh, I see what you did there. You needed a new gap to put your God in, and you thought you found one with these 11 dimensions.
You are absolutely allowed to not believe in science that you don't understand. However,
There's another example right there. He says you're absolutely allowed to believe in a science, or not believe in a science you don't understand. It's not science.
How can you tell it's not science if you don't understand it?
You can't observe what happened millions or billions of years ago.
Wait a second. Didn't you just give us these dimensions we can't comprehend or analyze?
We know there's dimensions we can't even comprehend or analyze.
So according to you, science does not need evidence in order to draw conclusions. You have these 6 or 7 dimensions that we cannot analyze that we just simply assume are true and assume that God is hiding there. So why can't we understand history in the same way?
Hey, science can't test history. We might as well throw out all history books because they're bullshit, because they're not science. It's all lies.
But you can't test those 6 or 7 dimensions, so they must be lies too. Oh, thank you for clearing that up. I was a little confused at first. Which reminds me, what about all of that archaeological evidence, the fossil record, or the geologic column? What are we supposed to do with that evidence?
oh, you're just upset that that archaeological dig proved that the story of Jericho was fake.
Okay, so he says something about a certain archaeological dig disproved Jericho as having its walls falling down, as the scriptures say. Actually, he's completely incorrect.
Is he? I mean, really, is he incorrect? How do we know Jericho, in fact, had walls? Can you prove to me that Jericho had walls?
When they looked down farther underneath, they found where it actually originally fell from, at the base of a lot of the walls.
Your tax dollars at work. Science has found out that walls fall from their base, making the world a better place.
And they actually proved that it was the base originally of the ancient wall of Jericho.
So they found the base of a wall, but no wall.
You can see they actually have fallen red brick, which shows sort of the ancient wall that fell down.
Wait, it looks like a wall. I mean, that's some pretty convincing evidence that Jericho had a great wall. Wow. I mean, this changes everything. I mean, for my entire life of nearly 8 minutes, I believed Jericho did not have a wall. And this pretty much proves that Jericho had a wall. I mean, I'm looking at this article. It says right here that they believe that the Great Wall of Jericho probably collapsed in 1550 BCE, nearly a full 150 years before Joshua's biblical assault on the city. This evidence is pretty overwhelming. It had a wall. Okay, I admit I was wrong.
And on top of that, they were just trying to confirm that the story was fake. So it might have made sense that these archaeologists didn't want to really look a lot at anything. They just kind of wanted to brush aside the story.
Wait, did they find a wall or didn't they? Maybe if the wall of Jericho was something we couldn't comprehend or analyze, then we would know for certain that it was there. But if we have evidence that the wall was there, evidence we could comprehend and analyze, then we obviously know that the wall is a lie. Am I getting this right? It doesn't make any sense. Look, I really am trying to understand this. So why don't you go over the nature of science in a little more detail? And maybe I can start to put all this together.
The scientific method in of itself was not perfect when they first created it, with the concept of just using your 5 senses, because your 5 senses can't comprehend, at least we don't know of a way yet, our 5 senses can comprehend the 6 or 7 dimensions that we know exist.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with our 5 senses? Oh, sure, I'll grant you they aren't much good when it comes to extra dimensions we can't conceive of or analyze, but they managed to spot the first four just fine. The giants of science made some of their most monumental discoveries with just their naked senses. And things really took off when we started using tools that enhanced our senses or was able to detect what we couldn't. With advanced tools, scientists were able to learn about such things as the electromagnetic spectrum, at least the part we can't see, nuclear radiation, quantum mechanics, and general relativity, none of which can be detected by any of our senses, but all are still considered to be part of the natural universe.
He's not allowing you to take the scientific data in front of you and interpret it whatever way you can.
Huh? Any way you can? So let me get this straight. If Natasha wants Jericho to have a wall, she should be able to interpret the scientific data in a way that tells her that it had a wall. And if Curly here doesn't want Jericho to have a wall, then he should be able to interpret the scientific data in such a way that tells him that it didn't have a wall. So, when those scientists wanted to confirm that the story was fake, why couldn't they interpret the evidence in such a way that says the story was fake? Either way, it still doesn't answer the actual question of whether the city of Jericho actually had walls.
Because the whole concept is you can make a paradigm around scientific data. And the question is which paradigm better explains the scientific phenomena.
Wait, go back a second. You just said that we should interpret the data any way we can. Now you're telling me that we have to make the paradigm fit the data? I guess it makes more sense. If the paradigm doesn't fit the data, it can't be true. But if we're free to interpret the data any way we want to, what's the point? And then there's the problem with the data itself. We can only use ideas that we can't comprehend or analyze, while at the same time ignoring everything that we can comprehend and analyze. This science thing doesn't make any sense.
Notice that creationists will say that science is wrong, except they'll use science to prove science is wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, now, see, look at that. He says creationists say science is wrong. They do not say that. It's just completely bullshit what you just said there. Complete and utter bullshit.
Wait a minute. Armored Skeptic is right. You are trying to use science to disprove science. Your arguments don't make any sense because they're complicated. They don't make any sense because you don't understand the first thing about science. Huh. That's actually kind of liberating. It means now I can bring down the science.
Now, I just showed you how naturalism has an underlying assumption that's incorrect, and that science was used to prove that. String theory, for example. However, that is not saying science is wrong. It's saying naturalism is wrong. They deny the spiritual realm.
Naturalism doesn't... hold on a sec. Let me get turned around here first. Better. Naturalism doesn't assume the spiritual or any other realm doesn't exist. It's an epiphany that everything we can observe now, everything that we have ever observed in the past, are all examples of the natural world. Hence the term naturalism. And science is all about drawing conclusions from that which we can observe, from anything we can observe. That makes naturalism a core component of the scientific method itself. You can't use science to disprove naturalism any more than you could use a car to disprove the thing we call a wheel. And science is not biased against the supernatural. Lightning and diseases were once regarded as supernatural forces. We now understand them as part of the natural world.
And atheism is based off naturalism.
Atheism is what?
And atheism is based off naturalism.
Atheism is a lack of belief in a god or gods. That's it. That's all it involves. It doesn't have a methodology involved. There's no dogma, no literature. We don't need to prove atheism because it's a lack of belief. We don't have to prove it. You have to prove your religion.
Number two, atheists say we don't need to prove atheism because it's a lack of belief. We don't have to prove it. You got to prove your religion.
Yeah, I don't know what's so hard to figure out about that. The claims that a God exists and that he lives outside of our universe is untestable, so it means nothing. And the claims that God has created miracles on the face of the earth has also not been proven to be correct. So
actually, see, he's completely wrong about this. what it is that an atheist often will take in their argumentation an agnostic position.
Actually, atheists tend to take the position of the null hypothesis, an idea that atheists borrow from science. The null hypothesis is where any idea is not accepted to be true until it is sufficiently backed up by evidence. Most atheists will readily admit that they don't know for a fact that there is no God. Some will even say that there is no way to know for a fact that there is no God. But not knowing for a fact that he doesn't exist is not a good reason to believe that he does exist. An atheist will only come to believe in God if you can show him or her evidence that he is real. Until then, not knowing is the same thing as a lack of belief. That is why your 6 or 7 extra dimensions fall completely flat. String theorists have hypothesized them to be possible, but until evidence can be found that shows them to be real, science simply cannot accept them as being true. And when you can't even comprehend or analyze these extra dimensions, that's kind of the same thing as not having any evidence.
Let's say there's a garage, and there's an atheist and a Christian standing outside this garage, and there's an agnostic. Okay?
There's a joke here somewhere.
The Christian says, I know there's a car in the garage, the car being symbolically God. And the agnostic says, I don't know if there's a car in the garage. And the atheist is saying, I know there's no car in the garage. If you really don't know, you don't know there's a car in the garage, you can go look and see if there's a car in the garage.
Okay, let's go look and see if there's a car in the garage. That actually explains a great many things.
we know there's dimensions we can't even comprehend or analyze.